Sound is an often underrated and underappreciated part of the cinematic experience. The things we hear help immerse us deeper into the world of the action we see on the big screen. But who makes the sounds that help us lose ourselves in the magic? How can you become one of those magnificent people? Why don't we find out? Foley artist. What, how, and why? Let's start with exactly what a Foley artist is. According to Alyssa Mayo at Screenbinder, a Foley artist is, quote, a person who recreates sounds for film, video, and other media in post-production to enhance audio quality. These sounds can include pretty much anything from the sound of breaking glass to squeaking door hinges or even the swishing of clothing. The Foley artist uses a wide variety of props and equipment to create a plethora of sounds required for the project, with the types of Foley sometimes being broken into three categories: footsteps, movement, and specifics. Footsteps is self-explanatory. The artist uses different shoes and floor surfaces to emulate the scene, while movements includes things like rustling jackets or clothes swishing, and specifics encompasses the tiniest of details. Think a squeaky door, or the sound of a sword being unsheathed. These are the kind of things we would know when we hear them, but don't actively think about while watching a film. Without the details provided by these sounds to create a full picture of a scene, the film can feel wrong and unrealistic. The term Foley actually dates all the way back to a man named Jack Foley, born in 1891, who was a sound effects pioneer who worked with Stanley Kubrick. What do you need to be a Foley artist? Like any role, there are certain skills needed to make it as a Foley artist. Foley artists are naturally performers who have a great ear for recognising sounds, and are naturally creative, as they have to think of many different ways to reproduce sounds for the big screen. Some more specific skills are sound recording, sound editing, sound mixing, and sound design. These are all key to working as a modern Foley artist. When it comes to non-professional skills, Foley artists are usually tuned into the world of sound and motion, and the relationship between the two, and therefore able to use it in creative and innovative ways. Being such a niche role in the industry means the number of working roles can be limited, so the more skills you have, the better. What department do they work in, and who do they report to? For the Foley artist, the work environment can vary greatly dependent on their employer. Some may work directly on the movie sets, while others work in offices or recording studios. If the production is still in early stages, the artist may be testing equipment, while if it's in post-production, they could be actively recording sounds for the newest scenes they've received. They could even be editing those recordings if they've finished all of the sounds. Like many roles in the film industry, the Foley artist can work long hours to meet production deadlines, like a trailer release, test screening, or even the final premiere of the film. In terms of who the Foley artist works with, the director of the project will have a vision for how everything should sound to build a picture of the film's universe. Together they'll likely exchange ideas on key sounds and how they want them to fit into the film. They also work with the Foley mixer, who helps put together the sounds that the Foley artist experiments with. This is likely the person the Foley artist spends the most time with, so it's key that they be able to effectively work together and communicate ideas about their work. Equipment. What do they use? Foley artists use a multitude of props to bring to life many different sounds. The most famous, of course, is the use of coconuts to create the sound of horses walking, but let's run through some others. Walking in the crunchy snow. This is done multiple ways, such as using sand and salt. Both of these have the same crunchy sound we recognise as feet walking in the snow. The sound of breaking bones in a horror film. Watermelon peels and walnuts are crushed to create these painful sounds. A tense heartbeat. Turning an empty bin upside down and making a rhythmic sound. Uneven sounds can actually be more realistic to the audience dependent on the context of the scene. How do you become a Foley artist? Foley artists work in a sound department under the sound mixer, usually starting their career as production assistants before moving up the department ladder through hard work and connections. Like any role in the industry, it's key at entry level to absorb as much information as possible from those in the field around you. Lots of Foley artists begin working on independent and student productions before entering a larger post-production office. One of the most important things for a Foley artist is practical experience. Volunteering or interning on movie sets is an effective way to get involved with industry professionals and make connections. Let's look at one Foley artist's pathway in the industry. Katie Walters of Noise Floor, who studied post-production work at Columbia College, Chicago. She took years to find steady work, but an internship at Noise Floor helped her to make connections there, and she eventually did Foley on some films, before finally being hired officially at the company as office manager. She then moved up to become the company's producer, doing Foley when there was a demand for it. Now she successfully works as both producer and in-house Foley artist. So there you have it. what a Foley artist is, how they work, and how you become one. So using what you've learnt today, go forth and become the best Foley artist you can be.